Greetings, Algo Artisans. It's Cowboy here. Was out for a couple days. Back. Bitcoin, gold, PENG, Ethena. We're going to look at all the charts. We're going to jump into it right now.
You in theory?
Dump it.
Okay, so here is the chart for Bitcoin. Had another pullback and nearly identical in size and magnitude to the pullback that happened back in mid-March. Mid-March, price went from 73,750 all the way down to 60,850, and that was a 17.6% move. This most recent few days, we have seen price go from 72,750 down to about 60,000, and that is a 17.5-ish% move. Okay, so literally the same type of move and more or less in the same amount of time. Now, the question is, will price bounce here or not? I have some algorithmic indications it really could go either way. Now, we are at the bottom of a range, and what you see on the screen here is a rectangle, but I think I might consider whether this is the range with some deviations at the bottom, or perhaps whether this is sort of the other range with a couple of lighter deviations. And at this moment, based on what price has been doing, I'm beginning to think that this range is actually looking like this. Either way, it can be traded, and either way, price is at the bottom of a range. Normally, wisdom would say to go ahead and long the bottom of a range, right? Think of it this way. Now, I'm not saying to do this. I'm not giving investment advice, and I'm not entering this trade right now. If I did see what I needed to see, and I will illustrate what that looks like to you, then I might enter a trade that looks something like this, okay? Something along these lines. Now, that's a nice anywhere from 3 to 1, 4 to 1. Okay, this is a nice looking trade, and whether I have my stop here or lower depends on a lot of different factors, algorithmically. For the moment though, I would look for price to go ahead and head down here to form a double bottom, pop up, possibly retest, and start to head up. Now, if we can break this top right here, this is where I might be interested in entering, somewhere like this, making a trade to look like this. Of course, that might happen lower. I'm merely illustrating the conditions under which I would be willing to enter. And also I would need to see some type of algorithmic support for that decision. Now, I can tell you on the higher time frame, the algos do seem to think price is not quite ready to move up yet. However, in the current market, that can change. And the way I think that would look is Bitcoin might end up ranging in the bottom of this area for a period of time. And if Bitcoin tries to continue to break down and does not do so, it might have some deviations. But the longer this goes here, the better the chance it's actually going to rally back up. I know usually it's sort of the opposite, and again, what I'm saying here can change. Usually when price retests a support, it wants to break through, but right now what I'm seeing in the algos is telling me that this could actually be an exception to that kind of rule. The other way to look at this is if price continues to test and the algos do not favor a move up, then I would expect it to break below. Were it to break below, I would be interested in going short, and if I were to go short, I probably would look at shorting this range. I would be a little bit concerned about this lower deviation candle, but I wouldn't mind taking a risk as long as it broke out from the bottom of the range. And again, maybe it might have to form some sort of a breakout, maybe a retrace and a move back down, and I might short down to 53,000. Now let's take a brief look at where the liquidity may lie for Bitcoin so we can sort of predict where price might go in the case that it favors a move up or down. We are now at the Kingfisher. Okay, so most of the liquidity right now is to the downside. We have some immediate liquidity at 62,800, 62,850, and we have some at 64,700. So 62,850, 64,700. Let's mark that out. I'm going to zoom in here because those are some pretty close levels. This is maybe looking at a micro move. Okay, let's code these yellow so we know that these are liquidity, and then we'll take another look to see what might happen on a higher time frame. Just remember that these liquidity profiles over on the Kingfisher.io, they change, right? They change all of the time. But usually these sort of larger blocks will stay where they are for a period of time, especially if price does not move. These blocks usually stay where they are and they grow. Now there's a sizable amount of liquidity down at the 56.7 to 58.3, and we got 54.2 to 55. And then of course, if we look at the chart, we do have some liquidity down in this area based on prior price action. So I will go ahead and just mark that out manually. I do believe it's also on the Kingfisher. However, I do believe these areas are in in the near term all we need to look at. As price moves and continues to move, we will reevaluate, and I will also draw how price may head up so that the chart does have that final picture, right? And there's always that chance that before price heads down, well, first of all, there's always that chance that price heads up and does not head down, but I don't see that. I do believe price does have a little bit more to go down. The question is whether or not it breaks $60,000. And then, of course, we do have a possibility of price doing a quick hop up to grab that. But this is, at this point, unless you're day trading, it's not quite as important. So this is what I'm looking at, either a long in this range or a short in that range down to these targets. I may look at this lower target only because of that liquidity down there. So this is a long look at Bitcoin, but as I have not been here and as a lot has happened, I do believe it deserves attention. I'm going to move over to gold. Now, gold is absolutely mobbing. We talked about it in the morning show today. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I do think that a good, decent midterm target is going to be around 2630, 2650. I do believe it may stop off around 2500 or so on the way up. I believe 2500 is actually imminent. It does appear that there was a strong pullback. This pullback had, strong for a lower time frame. I don't want to overstate it, but price went from 2430 all the way down to 2320, and that is substantial. It's already almost halfway back It's almost already halfway back up. Good chance we're going to see price head up. And if I really wanted to go ahead and trade this, it would be a legitimate 382 pullback. Price moved up on this yellow line that you see right there. That's the impulse. I attach a Fibonacci to that. You already see these lines. Price pulled back, just barely touched a 382 and is heading back up. So for me, a reasonable trade, I'm not in it yet. I may well do that, but a reasonable trade might be like this. Set your stops however you set them. Just going to put a stop right here. That's not calculated. My stop will look different than this, but this already is almost a 2-to-1 trade and could be better than that. So that's a nice look on gold and some free alpha for everybody to see. Let's move on and talk about PENG. Okay, PENG get a lot of attention earlier this year, actually last month, where it went from 15 cents up to $2.20 over 8 times 10. Beautiful meme coin trade. Meme coins are not my thing. As a matter of fact, last week when I did a video on PENG, I said I probably wasn't going to buy any at that time. I definitely would wait until after the halving before speculating on any meme coins at this point. It was on the way up when I did the video, and now it has retraced, but it does appear to be finding some type of equilibrium, and I will draw a sort of primitive range. I don't know that this is going to hold right here, but it does seem that PENG wants to more or less bounce between, say, 25 and 35 cents. Just a rough range, and if it does this, if it continues at this level and then breaks above that, we may be seeing the next move on PENG. PENG does have a lot more going on than meets the eye, and I had a lot of comments from YouTube people on PENG that were telling me about some great partnerships and other things that they are trying to build in the background. Trying to build, right? It doesn't mean things are complete. This is still a risky meme coin, and again, as it is with all investments of any kind, you can lose your money. You got to talk to a licensed investment advisor. We are not dispensing investment advice. Let's take a look at Ethena. So Ethena, I think, has a good future. Clearly, it is being affected by the pullback in Bitcoin. The targets above actually remain, but I'm going to restate those. I'm going to drop down a time frame. Now, as I had a look at the algos, I do think Ethena is going to roll down, probably roll over to below $1. It's very possible. It's had a monster move up, and the most recent drop in Bitcoin, I'm going to say this, not having looked at the news, not having considered this until this very moment, but remember, their entire company just brought on, I think it was $500 million in Bitcoin, if my memory serves. Something along those lines. Whatever amount it was a very large amount of Bitcoin to be backing their company as collateral. Again, I'm saying this off memory, don't hold me to that number, but the fact remains that it is a large amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum backing Ethena as collateral. Ethena. So what we want to do is understand that as Bitcoin and Ethereum fall, Ethena will fall as well in value because their collateral is being eroded. Now, if we are to look at this from a charting standpoint, it does look like our next stop on the way down is 90 cents. The price is above $1. The algos do not look very bullish right now. I do expect Ethena to head down and grab that 90-cent handle. As it does does that, I will be able to gather a little bit more information, see if we can expect a bounce or not. Price may decide to head down. So this is all very possible, and because this is such a new chart, there's not a lot of data on which I can base my thesis. I just have to wait and see what happens. I also believe that once Bitcoin resumes its move up, if it does, which I'm pretty confident that it will, then I think Ethena will do the same. If nothing else, by the nature of its collateral being held in Ethereum and Bitcoin. Okay, well, this brings us to the end of the show. Again, it's good to be back. I had to handle some personal business over the last few days. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm going to go ahead and read to you a testimonial. Now, this testimonial came from Diane, and she says, I have been following you around since 2017, 2018. Rogue Money, Watch Us Trade, Chart Snipers. I've been lurking in the background, but things are finally coming together for me these days. Put in the work in, back testing, the whole deal. This is a very direct, decisive course you've put together here. It just gives me a lot of confidence. This is lovely. Thank you, Diane, again for this. Thank you for letting us know how well we are doing. Please come over to algofactory.tech. We teach people how to create their own trading method, their own algorithm. And this can be old school trading. You don't have to know how to do computer coding, any of that. You can just develop a trading method and use it. Technically, those are algorithms. Don't forget, algofactory.tech. Trade your job, upgrade your life. We'll see you on the next one.